Hey everyone, happy Monday evening. I hope you all had a wonderful Monday and a great start to your week this week. So, uh, I found this online that is pretty informative and interesting. It's an article called The Pandemic Year. So since today is Monday, March 8th, 2021, on Apple News, there's an article on there called The Pandemic Year. I want this virus to die inside me. And it says it's 1 year from today since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a global pandemic. All this week, Apple News Today is speaking with journalists who have done exceptional work covering the subject over the past 12 months. And today, Shumita Basu talks with Eli Zaslow, the Washington Post reporter behind the series Voices from the Pandemic. Zaslow shares stories of lives that have been impacted by COVID-19 and discusses how much more interconnected we are as a result of this public health crisis. So it's a pretty informative article, and the link for today's listening, I'll post that on social media for you to check it out, so you can see the link and hear that, and share that. I'll share that on social media, or put the link to when I upload this to my YouTube video too. But now on to there's 3 people here, and says the next heading of this article is called Voices from the Pandemic, and there are 3 voices in this article, and that are gonna tell the story about the pandemic and what they experienced with it. So here it is. The first voice from the pandemic. It was me. I know it was me. She believes she passed the coronavirus to her mother. This is her story. The Washington Post by Eli Zaslow, May 30th at 6:23 p.m. Francine Bailey Dassett. Then her mother did. This is her story. They keep telling me it's not my fault, and I'd give anything to believe that. The doctor called after my mom went to the hospital and said, "Don't blame yourself. You didn't do anything wrong." The pastor said basically the same thing at her funeral. Let it go. You had nothing to do with this. I know they are trying to make me feel better, but it's a lie. I had everything to do with it. This virus doesn't just appear in your body out of nowhere. It has to pass from one person to the next. It has to come from somebody. And this time, I know it came from me. I keep thinking, what if I stopped going to war when the first people started to get sick? What if I didn't live with my mom? What if I stayed upstairs in my room like I've been doing all week? What if I kept my mask on? What if I turned away when she reached out to hug me? We only had close contact that one time, and it barely lasted a few minutes. But that was all it took. A week later, she was in the hospital. 10 days after that, she was gone. So sad. That's the timeline I have to live with, and it points right back to me. I got sick, and then she got sick. I lived, and she died. How am I supposed to let go of that? The thing is, I was trying so hard to be careful from the very beginning. It's not like I was one of those people who didn't pay attention. I worked at a nursing home. I knew how fast this virus could spread. As soon as a few of the residents started spiking fevers in March, I went online to buy extra masks. We didn't have the right protective supplies, and you can't social distance when you're a nursing aide. I work on the lockdown unit. These people need a lot of help. We feed, we wash, we do everything. I came home one day with a slight headache, and then I started to cough. My mom said to me, "This doesn't sound like your sinuses. This is different." I told her not to come too close to me. She was healthy for a 70-year-old lady, but I wanted to be safe. I called off work. I moved out of the bedroom I share with my daughter and her father, so I had my own space upstairs. I started drifting away from everybody. I didn't know for sure if I had corona yet because I was waiting on the test, but I had a good idea. My 5-year-old would stand outside the room for hours, calling after me. She likes to cuddle underneath you. That's the kind of person she is. She kept banging on the door. "Mommy, Mommy, let me come in." I begged for her to go away. "Please, baby, pretend like I'm not here." She would not leave. Eventually, I had to stop answering. We're a tight family, and all of us have been living on top of each other in this house for 20 years. That's a long time. That's how we like it. It's the Jamaican way. I'm upstairs with my kids, and my sister is downstairs with hers. And my mom went back and forth. We share the bills and the childcare. We rely on each other. Some days we might have 15 people staying here, and my mom was always at the center. She wasn't a person of so many words, but she would sit in the kitchen all day, watching and listening. She knew I had something bad. She had 10 children, and she's a caretaker. That's a lot of children. I had to fight her from coming into the room. She told me to steam my head with orange and lemon. She started making this tea drink. It had turmeric, garlic, lime, honey, and ginger in it. She would put it in a cup and leave it at the door 5 or 6 times a day. She stood outside in the hall and called me on the phone to make sure I was drinking it. Put the phone where I can hear it go down. When I lost my voice and couldn't talk, She would stand out there and test me. Did you drink it? All of it? But what happened if they won out? He's standing in a food line for the first time. This is his story. Anytime I heard people moving around in the hall, I would never go outside. If I needed to leave the room, I waited until it was quiet. They say the average person gives this virus to 3 or 4 people, but I thought this is going to die inside me. I drove myself to the death test. I drove myself to the hospital a few days later. I drove myself to the pharmacy to get all the meds, even though I was hyperventilating so bad I could barely hold on to the steering wheel. I took Clorox with me every time I went to the bathroom and tried to sanitize behind myself, but sometimes it got too hard to stand. I would test my mom and my sister. I sprayed the bleach, but I had to leave it. At night, I was like an animal. I couldn't breathe, and lying down made it worse. I was running a fever, and the doctor said I had pneumonia. I drank so much cough syrup that my body started to smell like it. I would pace in the bedroom all night from the wall to the doorway and back, counting steps and watching the clock. My mom had the bedroom right underneath mine, so she could hear my feet on the floor, and she would call in the night, "Are you okay, Francine? You're scaring me." Get our coronavirus updates newsletter, and it's on Apple News today. So, that's the article. Now back to the story. Receive the most important pandemic developments in your inbox every day. All stories linked in this newsletter are free to access. One day, my back and my neck were on fire, and I couldn't keep walking. I tried to lie down, and it felt like the whole house was falling in on me. It felt like I was dying, and I started to have a panic attack. I took off running because I wanted to find air. I went downstairs, and I kind of tripped over my slippers. My mom heard me, and she came to the bottom of the stairs. I was gasping and sobbing. I couldn't talk. She told me, "Take off your mask, let the air in." Fun question. How long can a heart last like this? She's had COVID-19 for weeks, and it's not going away. I pulled my mask down around my neck, and she held me. I needed it, and she needed to help. Our faces were touching. I was breathing on her. I wasn't thinking about anything. I leaned on her until I was calm again, and then I put my mask back on and went upstairs. I tried to forget about it. It was only 2 or 3 minutes. I didn't even know for sure yet if I was positive for the virus. I tried to tell myself it would be fine. A few days later, I heard her start to talk downstairs in her room. It was nighttime, and I leaned against the floorboards to listen. I said, "Oh, God, no, please, Jesus, don't let her be sick." but I already knew she sounded exactly like me. She had diabetes, so maybe that's why it went downhill fast. I don't know. She was so out of it that she stopped taking some of her other medications. I talked to her once over the phone when she was at the hospital. She had a Z-Pack mask on her face, and the doctors didn't want her to do much talking. They were trying to get ready to put her on a ventilator. I told her she needed to listen to the doctors. I told her I was sorry. I didn't have my voice back, so I was kind of whispering, and I'm not sure if she could hear me or understand me. She said, "Don't worry about me. Focus on yourself." Are you drinking the tea? Please drink the tea. I apologize to God for feeling this way. A 75-year-old woman grapples with loneliness. Wow. Back to the story. I was still in isolation in the bedroom when her doctor called them. The Department of Health told me to stay up there until 3 days after I stopped having symptoms. It was 7 in the morning, and I was winded from taking a shower. Sometimes it took 2 hours for me to recover from the shower and get dressed. The doctor said they were doing chest compressions, but she wasn't going to make it. He said it wasn't my fault, that the virus could have come from anywhere. I told him. What do you mean? She never even left the house. It was me. I know it was me, and I killed her. I threw the phone. I was so lost and so angry I didn't want to hear it. The phone kept ringing. People started coming over to grieve, and I heard them downstairs crying and consoling each other. A few of them knocked on my door. They were worried. Nobody was blaming me. My 19-year-old stood in the doorway and talked to me for like an hour, telling me it was okay, trying to get me to come out. I told him I'm not getting near anybody. I closed the door and stayed upstairs by myself. It's been almost a week since the funeral, and I'm still afraid to go outside. I'm scared to be within 10 feet of anybody. I start shaking whenever I walk out the door. What if I touch it all over again, or what if I can still give it to someone else? The doctor told me that's not factual, since they clear me as recovered. He says it's paranoia and anxiety. He wrote me a prescription and told me to take 2 tablets every time I leave the house. But it's easier to stay here. If I'm by myself, nothing else can go wrong. And about this series, Voices from the Pandemic is an oral history of COVID-19 and those affected. That was one voice of the girl and her mother's story relating to COVID and the experience with it. Now, this is the second voice of the pandemic on another person's experience with COVID and how they experience with it. So here it is. Why are we so afraid of? What are we so afraid of? He called the virus a hoax before he contracted and spread it. This is his story. The Washington Post by Eli Zaslow on October 10th at 5:15 p.m. Tony Dwayne hosted a party at his Texas home. This is his story. When President Trump, here we go with President Trump again, said, I had this moment of deja vu back to when I first woke up in the hospital. I know what it's like to be humiliated by this virus. I used to call it the Samdemic. I thought it was an overblown media harass. I made fun of people for wearing masks. I went all the way down the rabbit hole and fell hard on my own sword. So if you want to hate me or blame me, that's fine. I'm doing plenty of that myself. The party was my idea. That's what I can't get over. Well, I mean, it wasn't even a party, more like a get-together. There were just 6 of us, okay? My parents, my partner, and my partner's parents. We'd been locked down for months at that point in Texas, and the governor had just come out and said small gatherings were probably okay. We're a close family, and we had not been together in forever. It was finally summer. I thought the worst was behind us. I was like, hell, let's get on with our lives. What are we so afraid of? Some people in my family didn't necessarily share all of my views, but I pushed it. I've always been out front with my opinions. I'm gay and I'm conservative. This is his story, so not mine. So either way, I'm used to going against the grain. By the way, everyone, I'm straight, just to get that clear. This is his story that I'm reading. I stopped trusting the media for my information when it went hard against Trump in 2016. I got rid of my table. It's all opinion anyway, so I'd rather come up with my own. I find a little bit of truth here and a little there, and I pile it together to see what it makes. I had about 4,000 people in my personal network, and not one of them had gotten sick. Not one. You start to hear jokes about, a skydiver jumps out of a plane without a parachute and dies of COVID-19, and then you start to think, something's really fishy here. You start dismissing and denying. I told my family, come on, enough already. Let's get together and enjoy life for once. They all came for the weekend. We agreed not to do any of the distancing or worry much about it. I mean, I haven't seen my mother in months, and I'm not supposed to go up and hug her. Come on, we have a 2-story house, so there was room for us to all stay here together. We all came on our own free will. It felt like something we needed. It had been months of doing nothing, feeling nothing, seeing no one, worrying about finances with this whole shutdown. My partner had been sent home from his work. I'd been at the finish line of raising $3.5 million for a new project, and that all evaporated overnight. I'd been feeling depressed and angry, and then it was like, okay, I can breathe. We took nice meals, we watched a few movies, I played a few songs on my baby grand piano, we drove to a lake about 50 miles outside of Dallas, and talked and talked. It was nothing all that special. It was 3. It was normal. So, I woke up Sunday morning, feeling a little iffy. I had a lot of issues with sleeping, and I thought that's probably what it was. I let everyone know I don't feel right, but I'm guessing it might be exhaustion. I was kind of achy. There was a weird vibration inside. I had a bud-eye feeling. A few hours later, my partner was feeling a little bad too. Then my parents. Then my father-in-law got sick the next day. After he'd already left and gone to Austin to witness the birth of his first grandchild, I had no idea which one of us brought the virus into the house, but all 6 of us left with it. It kept spreading from there. Get the Post Most newsletter. The most popular and interesting stories of the day to keep you in the know in your inbox every day on Apple News Today. It's on your Apple devices. Apple News Today is a newsletter. The tour has been worse than the disease. He's shutting down his family restaurant. This is his story. I told myself, it wouldn't be that bad. It's the flu. It's basically just the flu. I didn't have the horrible cough you keep hearing about. My breathing never got too terrible. My fever peaked for like one day at 100.5, which is nothing. Barely worth mentioning. Alright, I got this. See? It was nothing. But then, some of the other symptoms started to get wild. I was sweating profusely. I would wake up in a pool of sweat. I had this tingling feeling all over my body, this radiating kind of pain. Do you remember those old space heaters that you plug in and the red line would light up and glow? I felt like that was happening inside my bones. I was burning from the inside out. I was buzzing. I was dizzy. I couldn't even turn my head around to get the TV. I felt like my eyeballs were in a fishbowl, just bopping around. I was icy, hot, all over my head. It was nonstop. Headaches and sweating for probably about a week, and then it just went away. I got some of my energy back. I had a few really good days. I started working on projects around the house. I was thinking, okay, that's it. Pretty bad, but not so terrible. I beat it. I managed it. Nothing worth shutting down the entire world over. Then one day I was walking up the stairs, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. I screamed and fell flat on my face. I blacked out. I woke up a while later in the ER, and 10 doctors were standing around me in a circle. I was lying on the table after going through a CT scan. The doctors told me the virus had attacked my nervous system. They'd given me some medication that stopped me from having a massive stroke. They said I was minutes away. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days, trying to get my mind around it. It was guilt, embarrassment, shame, I thought. Okay, maybe now I've paid for my mistake, but it kept getting worse. What could possibly go on? He's an election supervisor in Florida. This is his story. 6 infections turned into 9. 9 went up to 14. It spread from one family member to the next. And it was like each person caught a different strain. My mother-in-law got it and never had any real symptoms. My father is 78 and he went to get checked out at the hospital, but for whatever reasons, he seemed to recover really fast. My father-in-law nearly died in his living room and then ended up in the same hospital as me on the exact same day. His mother was in the room right next to him because she was having trouble breathing. They were lying there both on both sides of the wall fighting the same virus, and neither of them even ever knew the other one was there. She died after a few weeks. On the day of her funeral, 5 more family members tested positive. My father-in-law is probably my best friend. It's an unconventional relationship. He's 52, only 9 years older than me, and we hit it off right away. He runs a construction company, and I would tag along on his jobs and ride with him around Dallas. I have been through a lot in my life, from food stamps to Ferris and then Batadem. So I could tell a good story and make him laugh. He builds these 20,000 square foot custom homes, but he's been renting his whole life. We decided to go in together on 10 acres outside Dallas, and he was finally getting ready to build his own house. We'd already done the plumbing and gotten streets built on the property. We planted 50 pecans and oats to give the property some shade. He had his blueprints all drawn up. It was all he wanted to talk about. He was on supplemental oxygen, but the doctors kept reducing the amount he was getting. They thought he was getting better. He was still making jokes, so I wasn't all that worried. He told me, "They had got you upstairs in the cardiac rooms because you're white, but all of us Mexicans are still down here in the ER." I got sent home. I had a lot of guilt about leaving him there. I told him at the hospital and I was like, "I'm going to come bust you out Mission Impossible style." He said he preferred El Chapo style. We were laughing so hard, I hung up, and a few hours later, I got a call from my mother-in-law, and she was hysterical. She could barely speak. She said one of his lungs had collapsed, and the other was filling with fluid. They put him on a ventilator, too, and he lay there on life support for 6 or 7 weeks. There was never any goodbye. He was just gone. It's like the world swallowed him up. We could only have 10 people at the funeral, and I didn't make that list. I break down sometimes, but mostly I'm empty. Am I glad to be alive? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. There's no relief. This virus, I can't escape it. It's torn up our family. It's all over my Facebook. It's the election. It's Trump. It's what I keep thinking about. How many people would have gotten sick if I'd never hosted that weekend? 1, maybe 2. The grief comes in waves, but that still just sits. About this series, Voices from the Pandemic. 2 is an oral history of COVID-19 and those who are affected by it. So, now this is the final and third voice of the pandemic on this person's story of their experience with COVID-19 and how they experienced it and what happened. So, so here it is. Do people understand what's happening here? A nursing home resident waits for a vaccine. The Washington Post by Eli Zazo, December 5th at 5:20 p.m. Bruce Mathilis is a resident of the Heartland Nursing Home in Mentor, Ohio, and this is his story. I'm happy they put us at the top of the list, but I doubt it's going to make much of a difference in here. Can I get the vaccine today? Will I have immunity by tomorrow? Because that's the kind of timeline we need in this nursing home. More than half of this place is COVID positive. I'm one of about 80 residents and 30 got sick this week. The first thing I do when I wake up is look down the hallway for the big plastic sheet. That's what they use to block off the COVID area. They sectioned off a whole wing a few days before Thanksgiving. And then they blocked another hallway earlier this week. That plastic sheet keeps moving closer. I'm trying not to panic, but where am I supposed to go? It's not like I can jump up and make a run for it. I'm in a wheelchair. I haven't been outside for months. I'm trapped, just like everybody else in this place. We're at the mercy of this virus. We sit in here and we wait. That's been the story of the last 9 months. It's boredom and then dread. They stopped allowing visitors in March, so we lost that contact with the outside world. Yeah, it probably was tough for the people living in nursing homes because they didn't have any visitors in there. Then it was no more group meals in the cafeteria. Just eat everything alone in your room. No more trips to physical therapy. No more access to the lounge or computer area. My world keeps getting smaller. I have my little room. I have my own 9-inch TV. I play Sudoku and watch Turner Classic Movies and stare out the window at the woods. I check the latest COVID numbers every few hours on my phone. And all of Ohio is out of control. We managed to keep the virus out of here for a while, but with the numbers this high, it was just a matter of time. I keep reading about how more than 100,000 people had died in places just like this, and I don't want to be one of them. I made it from one sunrise to the next. I keep breathing. That's it. That's the whole goal. I saw my doctor a few weeks ago, before this whole outbreak started. I'm only 64, but I have a lot of issues because of my accidents. I used to drive a newspaper truck, and one night I was sitting at a red light with the Sunday paper when I got plowed by a drunk driver. I have balance issues. I have balance issues, immune suppression, lung clots, weight problems, high blood pressure. I've been here 23 months trying to get better and get home. My doctor told me I have at least 9 of the markers that are bad for COVID. I asked him, are there vitamins I can take? Exercises? What should I do to protect myself? He said, just make sure you don't get it. Don't get it, don't get it, don't get it. That's what my brain does all day. This is how we treat each other, a county health director on the high toss of doing her job. I don't let anybody come near me anymore. I have a little dresser by my door where the nurse aides put my medication and my meals. I stay away, I wait, and then put on my gloves, and that's how I eat. There are a few nurses in the morning that I trust, so that's when I ask for help and take my shower, but otherwise I'm hunted down. A few months ago, an aide from a temp agency tried to come in to check my vitals. We didn't have any cases at that point, and I thought some people here were starting to get a little casual about it. Her mask was down by her chin. I seen her with some of the other aides talking in the break room, and they weren't social distancing up to my standards. I told her, "Stay out of my room." She said she needed to check my blood pressure. She said, "Why are you making this into such a big deal? I'm a hard ass about this stuff. And I'm not even a little bit sorry. I can't afford to take chances." I told our administrator to lodge a complaint, and finally she turned around and left. I told the administrator, "I have studied all the protocols. I know you can't leave me in the dirt on this. If you get a positive test, you are required to let me know. Be sure to get the Post newsletter on Apple News TV, the most popular and interesting stories of the day, to keep you in the know in your inbox every day." Now back to the story. Two staff members came to my door the Friday before Thanksgiving. They told me one resident had tested positive. They didn't say how the virus got in. We have staff shortages, and new temps are always coming through. They live in the community. They have kids. Their kids go to school. This last month, 1 in every 50 people in Lake County tested positive. It could have come in from anywhere. I wrote down the time and the date in a notebook I keep next to my bed. Okay, that's one. Here we go. The next day, we had another case. Sunday, it was 2 more. Monday, we had 8 positives. Then a bunch of the staff started to call out sick. I keep on writing it down in my notebook, but it's getting hard to keep up. Last time I counted our cases. We have 45 residents and 21 staff. That's all in the last 2 weeks. Wow. We need help. Shouldn't that be obvious? The residents are scared. We can hear the beeps, the patient alarms, the ambulance sirens. We have a good tour of people who work here, but a lot of our management is out sick. They keep bringing in new people to fill the gaps, and they are trying, but this virus keeps spreading. I'm starting to get desperate. I told the county ombudsman to alert him, and he's supposed to be our advocate, but he said a lot of nursing homes are going through outbreaks right now. He said 30 new cases is not really considered all that extreme, and everyone is trying their best. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. I called the county, but that didn't go anywhere. I called the CDC hotline. I called a few local task police. I called a number I found on Facebook for Dr. Fauci, but that was just another message machine. The Ohio Department of Health finally got back to me after 4 or 5 days. They took down a report and said they would notify a supervisor, but there are probably 200 of those reports waiting around in the same file. I haven't heard back. It seems like everyone has just surrendered. I leave messages until my phone runs out of batteries. I charged it up and try again. The other day I spent 6 hours making calls. I got so fed up that I dialed 911. It's a recorded line, so at least that way I'm leaving behind some breadcrumbs. At least they will have something to go back to if they come in here one day and find 30 residents dead. I explained what was happening to the dispatcher, but she didn't seem to get it. She kept asking if I was in physical pain. She asked if I wanted an ambulance. I said, no, it's bigger than that. We're sitting ducks. We all need to be rescued. She said, sir, what's your emergency? I'm not hearing an emergency. I don't know what I expected her to do. She told me I wasn't being rational. And maybe she's right, but why is there never any acknowledgement? Why isn't there urgency? At least 10 people are probably going to die in here, and it might be a lot more. What qualifies as an emergency? It feels like I'm on the Titanic and we're sinking. And I'm trying to make contact with the outside world using 2 soup cans and a string. Hello? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Is anybody going to do anything? I get this sense sometimes that people are thinking, oh, it's just another nursing home. It's not a real tragedy. They were already at the end of the road, and for a lot of people in here that's true. This is the last stop, but there's still people. They're still alive. There's one lady in here, and she's probably 90, and every day she steals Tooties out of the cafeteria and acts like she made them herself. She puts on her lipstick and goes from room to room, handing out her Tooties. When she comes in, it doesn't matter if you are hungry. You better take a Tootsie. It's what keeps her going. She needs to give it to you. But now the cafeteria is closed, and she's lying alone in a dark room like everyone else. There's no human connection, no life, no hope. We're wilting away in here. Can you understand that? You start feeling like you have been forgotten. Where is everyone? Do people understand what's happening here? Do they care? I'm coming to the realization that it's up to me to watch out for myself. I found a plastic picnic blanket in one of the lining closets, and I'm going to tape it up over my door. Total isolation might be my only chance. I probably have to make it at least another month to the vaccine, and I guess that's when will become a priority. Again, about this series, Voices from the Pandemic 3 is an oral history of COVID-19 and those affected by it. And this is by the author of who was narrating these 3 stories of these 3 different type of people who had experienced COVID and what they had to deal with. So, Eli Zazo is a reporter at the Washington Post. He won the 2014 Pulitzer Prize for explanatory reporting for his year-long series about food stamps in America. He was also a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in Feature Writing in 2013, 2016, and 2017. And then this is the link of the listening today. I will post that when I upload this video to my YouTube channel, everyone. So those were the 3 voices of the pandemic, everyone, and their experience with COVID and how it impacted their lives. So again, everyone, the vaccines are out for some people, not everyone. I think the general public for the vaccines aren't going to be available till May or early June or something like that. So until then, I just have to keep doing what we're doing. It is what it is. Hopefully things will get better. But did get through the worst of it, although some people might say it's getting worse, but sometimes what people don't understand is it's life, and you just have to do what you have to do until the vaccines come out for everyone. And then once they say the vaccines are covered, once you get your vaccine and it's covered, and then they say then you're immune, you don't have to wear the mask or social distance because you got the vaccine, then that's good. But until you get that vaccine, you still have to wear the mask and I guess social distance, even though it's hard and it's tough because you want to be able to do that. And especially during the pandemic, it was lonely and not a lot of human interaction. That's why the online world was a big thing, and that and like streaming and that. But hopefully, definitely by 2022, hopefully everyone will have the vaccine by then. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and hopefully by 2022 we won't have to worry about wearing masks anymore, social distancing or anything. That hopefully should give enough time to get everyone have the vaccine. The only problem with that is not everyone will get the vaccine, but it is what it is, and you can't tell people what to do. It's their life. They can do what they want to do. So it is what it is, and just have to keep staying positive out there. Everyone, don't listen to any negative people out there who try to say that, oh, it's the end of the world and it's with the virus and it's gonna get worse, it's not gonna get better, and that when it's not true. It will get better. You have to have faith, and plus we have a new president now, Biden, and the first African American colored black woman to be vice president of the United States too, Kamala Harris, and they're gonna make this country a better place too. And just have to keep staying positive, and already did that through the first wave of the pandemic. I guess it's kind of like the second wave of the pandemic now. Some vaccines are available, just have to keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully by the summertime the vaccines will be available for everyone in the general public, and hopefully by then, hopefully if everyone gets it, hopefully then won't have to wear the mask anymore in social distancing because it is tough wearing the mask and social distancing. And especially if you have glasses and wearing a mask, it steams up your glasses and then you can't see out of them, and that's a pain when it steams up your glasses. But just have to keep doing what we're doing to hopefully things will get better soon. But that's why I have a YouTube channel, and I like sharing entertainment and like singing and like sharing music. Music goes a long way. Like and it's music is just like healing, and like it's nice listening to music or entertainment like that. To or like even streaming, watching other people's streams online, meeting new people online, especially since you can't go out and meet new people or hang out as much. But what now you can, I guess, because you can wear masks and just social distance, but it's still not the same because because not used to seeing people wear masks and you can't see their face, and it's tough, and you want to be able to see their face, and then when they take it off, then it's like, oh, you didn't see the face because the mask was covering. So, but it is what it is. Just have to keep staying positive. I hope you liked the article, and it's on Apple News TV, and I think it said on the article that each day this week there's a listening, each weekday or something about it. Sorry about that. So about that, to stay in the loop with the article. So it's called the pandemic year, and yeah, it is kind of crazy that from today it's officially a year since the pandemic came about, and it shut and had the shutdown and the lockdown, and that was tough, especially for me. I'm sure for all my fellow seniors too in the class of 2020, because second half of a senior year didn't end up the way it could have ended up. Missed out on stuff, missed out on like field trips and stuff at the end of our senior year and that, but it's a new chapter now, a new beginning, and this virus will get better, and the vaccines will help, and it can get back on track, because you hear and other people say too, America, I guess they had tough times before. They learned in history about when the Great Depression was, when the stock market crashed, 9/11. Well, that's different. This is even worse than 9/11. But because this even is worse because it affects the whole world. But China is the one that I think it started there, but then they brought it over here, and it started with the people coming over to this country, and There are a lot of other viruses and that, but just say I guess when the flu came out at first, it probably was the same way until they got that vaccine, and then every year you have to get the flu vaccine, and then this will probably be the same way every year you have to get the COVID vaccine. But once all the vaccines are available, then it should be back on track and a little bit normal again. And so hopefully, fingers crossed. But until then, hope you had a great night tonight, and I hope you have a great rest of your week this week and the beginning of this week. So just remember, stay positive, stay safe, just keep doing what we're doing, even though it's tough. But that's what's nice about the online world, is you can have fun online, meet new people from all over the world, and with social media and that, and it's nice, and it's but anyways, good night, and I hope you all have a great week this week, everyone. So bye for now, and I hope you liked my the article called the pandemic year, and don't forget, after you watch my video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to hit that bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video on my YouTube channel, so you don't want to miss any other wonderful videos that I post on my YouTube channel, entertainment or anything that I find interesting that I want to share with all of you, anything. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Corey's super fun videos to cheer people up your Duta. That's my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time whenever I upload another video.